Hi, I'm Dr. Gaby Cora and welcome to my show, Dr. Gaby's Take, Make Life Interesting. Tell me a bit more of the myths that you commonly find. What are the most common myths that you see whenever you come to work with people?
One that actually has been on my lap for a long time now is about suicide. And it's a very delicate matter, very delicate, because as we all know, when you love someone so much and they have chosen to take their own life, it is a personal hit to yourself mentally and emotionally, and it's quite understandable to not understand why this has happened. And a lot of us like to believe in the right and wrong aspect, and it translates over into the suicide topic, that suicide is wrong. It's absolutely wrong. And I'm not saying right now that it is right. I'm just trying to say that there is no right or wrong about it. It just is. And we have to take it for that. And I get a lot of conversation in here in my private sessions and in my classes where I teach. They bring this up. Well, why? What happens to them afterwards? And it goes along to what your society has taught you about good versus bad, that punishment is needed. But yet when we go deep into religions, and in any religion, there's this underlying compassionate, no judgment kind of, I wouldn't say a law, but an understanding. And since that exists, and we believe that that exists, but we also want to believe that there's a judgment and there's a right and a wrong, it collides. It can't exist in the same space. And there's a lot of head versus heart battling here about removing from our lives the concept that has been taught to us by our society, by our culture, that there's an extreme right way to do something and there's an extreme wrong way to do something. And once we start digging this belief out and just accepting every moment that happens to you and every decision that somebody else makes as not a right or a wrong, but as a choice, all of a sudden this idea of understanding and compassion and healing of yourself and others seems very, very possible to hold space for. Whereas before, not so much.
So
not so much.
In our society, like you mentioned, there's this judgment part, and suicide is such a taboo. And it continues to be. We're so scared in a way, and that makes it even harder to try to understand. Of course, there are some times in which it may come impulsively and other times in which people have been thinking about it for a long time. I was just reading some numbers where there's millions of people thinking about suicide every year. Not that they even committed, but some do. About 50% may do. And even in kids, in your work, the work that you've done with families, with the people who stay, what have you found around that very tough topic to discuss? So what have you found? What have you sensed? What have you perceived?
In communicating to the spirits who've passed away by choice of own death, they're very verbal about how we call it committing suicide, because you're not committed to this crime or this prison. You're not being held with judgment or punished after death. That's the first thing they like to vocalize to me, is that I made the choice and it was the right choice. And please understand that it was the right choice. And then in the explanation emotionally and mentally of why it was the right choice and how they felt in their life, which normally when they were living they couldn't find the words to express anyways, be it because there was some mental illness or disease or poor communication between the relationships. And they confide in a very here's where, when you hear somebody speak, you know how you can identify, wow, you know, that person's kind of trying to find the words to make it right. And there's sometimes when you listen to someone and you go, oh, that is the truth. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can sense it. And these spirits commonly will talk after suicide is that they're home and they're happy and they're centered, and this is where they want to be. It was a choice of theirs. And they talk about how it needed all the strength in the world to get there. And please accept and understand. And the lesson that goes with it is don't take responsibility for my own choice. It was mine to have, mine to hold. And that they are not being punished. That there's no, not 100%, but often there is not any kind of backpedaling or learning or mending that needs to be done. I have spoken to spirits who have passed away from suicide, who have actually kind of left their life too early, that they didn't stay for that lesson or that struggle or that fight that they wanted to go through. And so in spirit, they are doing that work with the people who are still living. So they are taking on the slack that they left behind. But that is not happening with every single case that I'm seeing. And as a child and growing up, this experience now that I'm having definitely did not match the belief that I was taught to have. So it was very shocking, eye-opening, and it's very challenging to teach it to other people. It's a very tender and protective topic.
It's very taboo. I'm sure that anyone who's watching will have some, concern or apprehension, because it's a very difficult topic to even begin to discuss. And at the same time, we're thinking about it. We're trying to feel about it, and it's interesting that you're sharing this experience.